Hey guys, this is Madhav and I'm back with another video. In today's video, I will be talking about 7 mistakes that you should not be doing in the last lap before your exams. So I'm pretty sure all of you have put in a lot of hard work and efforts and you've prepared so well all along. And this is the fag end when you have about 20 days to go for your exams. So at this point of time, there are certain things that you should not be doing and I'm here to tell you those. Firstly, do not get carried away by the rumors or the news that's being spread on social media or news channels or YouTube channels or newspapers about whether the exam should happen or whether they would happen. Because at the end of the day, anyways, exams should happen and you should write them and you should crack them to become a chartered accountant. So it is an inevitable process. Why do you have to think about something that is not in your hands? It is a variable that is uncontrollable. So do not let that distract you. Point number 2, do not panic about the exams. I know this is easier, better said than done. It is not very easy to not panic about the exams, but it's not impossible either. So give it a try and try to stay calm. It will help you focus better when you prepare. What I mean to say by panic is to not think about what will happen in the exam, what will happen in those 3 hours. Would I be able to clear the papers? Would I be able to finish one group or both groups? Would I be able to finish my paper on time? Will I be able to score more marks than my friends? How far is my friend prepared right now? What are they doing? What is she doing? What is he doing? Etc. 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 And these are thoughts that float in everyone's mind, including mine. So I'm no exception. But just try to control all of these and do not let them take over. Thirdly, before we go on to the third point, there's a small calculation that I'd like to tell you. We have 20 days roughly in hand, and let's say we are on an average study for 10 hours a day. So we have 20 to 10, 200 hours. If you're giving both groups, you have 25 hours per subject, and if you're giving just one group, you have 50 hours per subject. So one very, very main important thing is you need to stick to the timeline or the deadlines for each subject. I've seen a lot of people make this mistake. So let's say you plan to spend 25 hours for a subject and then that spills over. If there is a spillover, then just let it be. And if time permits, you can come back to it. But do not at any cost borrow time, or rather, I'd say steal time from the second subject and give it to the first. Because once you start doing it, the same process continues. You start taking time from the third subject to give to the second, and then the fourth to the third. That has a domino effect that keeps going on and on. And this carry forward impact will not hit you until it suddenly strikes you at the end that you would not have covered a particular chapter or a particular subject at all, or a large chunk of multiple subjects, and that's going to impact you very badly at the end. So do not let that happen. So never over prioritize any subject and borrow time away from one other subject for that. And the fourth point is, do not overdo or redo certain things, or do not try to overplay it, if I might call it, because do not try to cover everything 100%. You would not be able to cover your study material, reference book, compilers, everything once again. You've already done that. You've done your base work. You've already read them once or twice or how many ever times and revised all of it. So this time is for your revision and just to skim through them and not to again reread them entirely. If you're going to try and attempt to read everything 100%, the entire syllabus, it is not going to happen, and you're just going to end up in a complete chaotic situation where you wouldn't know what to do next and how to finish everything within the stipulated time that's in hand. So do not do that. Instead, this is the time where you can focus on RPPs, MTPs, and quickly glance through or skim through the points that you've taken down yourself while you studied all of them the first time. So do not overdo or do not study everything or try to study everything 100%. And then the fifth point is, do not do any new stuff right now. Do not read a new chapter or do not venture into understanding a new concept right now. The time is gone. So now is not the time for you to venture into something that you've never known earlier, because you will not be able to do justice for that anyways, but you're not only wasting that time, but you're also consuming the time that you could have rather used for subjects or the concepts that you've already studied in a subject that you could become the master of, or you could become thorough right now. So you're actually gambling with the time and in a way wasting the time that you could have given for the things that you know better, rather than trying to understand something new all of a sudden right now. There is a sixth point that I like to talk about, which is about the way in which you approach the preparation in entirety. So like I said, you have a compiler or one-stop solution that will definitely be very helpful and will aid your preparation to be in a more channelized or focused manner and has a direction in which you're going to go, rather than just doing in a very scanty way from here and there and just going hither thither. So just have one single compiler or one book to refer and keep doing sums. And also for practical subjects, do not try to cover all the sums. You're not going to be able to work out every single sum. Like I just said, you're not be able to cover 100% of syllabus. You're not going to be able to work out every single sum. So what you could do instead is to cover one sum from each type. For example, let's take the subject of SFM and a chapter like that of derivatives. You know, there is like option valuation, and in that there is Black-Scholes, there is a binomial model, there are other models as well. So try to solve at least one sum which is peculiar and unique to each type, instead of trying to solve all 50 or 100 plus sums that are given in that particular chapter. So that way you'll have an overall coverage and idea about the types of sums that exist within a particular subject or a concept or a chapter. And at the same time, you'll have the satisfaction of doing some sums, instead of trying to work out every sum and getting stuck somewhere and losing out on time that you have. Like I already calculated and told you, all we have in hand is max to max 200 hours. That's all we have. And there is a lot of distraction that is possible even within that, but still, that is the maximum time in hand. So try to stay focused within that. And then lastly, there is something that I like to tell you. There is something that a lot of people neglect, which is the theory subjects, or the theory component of the practical subjects like that of SFM, or even the provisions in direct tax and indirect taxes. These are very important, guys. And in the way things have evolved, your SFM papers have a very large chunk of marks allocated for your theory, and each question inside has one line of theory question or things like that. So almost 4 to 5 marks of each question or subdivision goes for a theory question. That is in case of SFM. And theory is always inevitable in provisions like in direct tax and indirect taxes. And there are entirely theory papers like audit and law where you have to study them. But for all of those, just make sure you have some writing practice at least. Do not just skim through the questions and go. It might seem very easy at first, but until you're given a pen and a paper to put down what you know, you would not realize that you haven't actually understood all what needs to be understood. Because it is very difficult to understand and reproduce the keywords or the concepts, sometimes maybe the section numbers or the ethics or clauses, etc., etc. So given a pen and paper, if you try to write, you might end up not being able to write more than just a line or two. And you realize it only when you have a writing practice. So to not have a writing practice might end up being very devastating. So please make sure you write mock exams. If you already written mock exams, please do analyze your papers and try to understand where you've gone wrong. If not, give your mock exams right now. You still have time, but make sure you make it very quick so that you still have some time to look back at what you've written and what the examiner or the online tutors, etc., have corrected and given you as comments, or how much they've given you marks and how much you've scored and how you could improve your scores. So that's the thing, guys. So to quickly summarize on the 7 points, do not get distracted by any of the recent updates about the exams. Second, do not overly stress yourself or panic about the exams. Third, do not jump into over prioritizing any one single subject. And then fourth, you do not try to cover 100% of any particular subject or the syllabus. Fifth is to not start to learn anything new right now. Sixth is to try out more sums of each types rather than trying out more number of sums and focusing more on the quality than on quantity and understanding than on just mere repetition of sums or for practice. And lastly is to have a writing practice, which is a mandatory thing for theory subjects especially. So I really hope that these few pointers were of some help to you. And in case you need any further help or any guidance or any help, please do feel free to reach out to me on my Instagram handle or the mail ID that's been given below. So thank you so much, guys. All the very best. Good luck for your exams.